I took the liberty of just knocking out some incidental things so y'all didn't have to sit here and watch me do a lot of just mundane type stuff. I darkened my background to isolate the head, bring it forward. Now you can kind of see a little bit more the glow from the shadow side of the face, the underpainting, the burnt sienna is a lot more visible now. And I just blocked in the basic colors and values of the clothing that is in the photograph, just for some full understanding of the whole composition, because you have to kind of get all the elements together so then you can start to relate things back properly with the right kind of color, right kind of value. So to have the dark background, to have everything now blocked in, I can start to be a little more sensitive to the flesh tones and getting those as accurate as I need to get them. Really at this point, it's now just going to be tightening up my brush strokes. We did a lot of broad, general blocking in and underpainting last time. We blocked in the face in 3 stages. We put in the shadow, we put in a middle value, a middle tone, and then we added a highlight side of the face. And that just kind of all went around the basic drawing that we did, where we just mapped out basic features of the face and then laid down the shapes. We talked about with painting, you can really simplify a lot of the details by just capturing the shapes, the way that the shadows are responding to the bone structure, the skull underneath the head, the way the highlights are doing the same thing. You don't have to draw or paint every eyelash unless you want to. You don't have to capture every little fold of skin unless you want to. You can suggest things. One of the things that I admire about painting is the ability that my mind has to fill in the blanks. The artist doesn't have to give me every detail. I can fill all those in. I know just by looking at this overall sketch that it's meant to be a head. I don't have to see every little piece of the eye or every little part of the nose or every little hair of the goatee to know what I'm looking at, right? It's there. So don't overburden yourself. Loosen up some and just paint, okay? One discipline that I think painting the figure gives you, and we talked about this in Painting 1 if you remember, painting should be every stroke matters. You're not just picking at the surface and just mindlessly pushing paint around and just puttering around on the surface. You're making very specific decisions. Every time that brush is making contact, you know exactly what you're doing, where your paint's going to go, and what its purpose is going to be. You're not just killing time. And when you look at the masters, and when you look at contemporary artists who are great painters, every stroke is doing something. Every stroke matters to them. Okay? So the features of the face is a really good way to slow down and make sure you're really sensitive to the way light and shadow is forming across the features of the human face. Is it weird to look at yourself and paint yourself? Is it weird to have that assignment to do a self-portrait?
It's awkward. And it makes you look at your flaws even more. It's like, oh, I'm gross.
Right. Well, but that's a whole nother level in teaching yourself to really visually process things. You take for granted what you look like. You really do. You get so accustomed to looking at your face every day, you're not scrutinizing yourself all the time. But by doing this assignment, you guys are really having to key in on very specifics. So it's a good exercise to get you to think very deliberately about what you're painting. So with the colors that I had from last time, I'm just going to start mixing even more variety of colors. Instead of just having the 3 basic tones, now I'm going to start to mix colors that go in between each one of these. I'm going to start mixing the white with this, peach flesh tone. I'm going to start mixing the peach flesh tone with the sienna shadow and start getting secondary values and start to lay in even more specific shapes as I see the features, moving across, the portrait. And I'm going to get a little more accurate with my color. And so at this point, I'm going to kind of switch to a smaller brush that's going to give me a little more control. And you can tighten this up as much as you want to. If you want to get down to a detail brush, that's totally fine. Whatever's going to give you control throughout the project, okay? I'm just going to kind of work from top to bottom. I'm going to just, start to get some detail into the hair and the hairline, work down the forehead, and just progress down the face, and start to bring it all together. So I'm just going to stick with this extreme dark to give a little more specific shape to the hair and the side of the head. So I'm just going to mix phthalo blue with some burnt sienna and alizarin crimson to just get a nice natural dark. A little more blue, I think. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to kind of just indicate that silhouette of hair that comes around and hangs in very loose strokes over the forehead. These bangs are just quick little flicks of the brush. There's not a hard edge to them. They're very loose. And I'm just kind of, again, just kind of following the shape of how the shadow moves. And as it starts to transition into the light, I'm going to put in a little more burnt sienna, start adding some white to soften the value a little bit. Just, one color right over the next, wet on wet. Learn to, enjoy that interaction of wet paint on wet paint. Comes down behind the ear. And then right where light's coming directly across the side of the head, I'm just going to add these quick strokes of paint. And you'll move your brush in the direction of, the hair. Let your brush kind of mimic, if it comes down straight, if it sweeps across, if it's, however it lays against the head. That's important. It should feel like it's conforming to the shape. Same, I've got the same mixture going for the hair and the head. I'll just come down here and work on the goatee real quick since it's all the same. Put in this value of grays and browns, what have you. Get a little bit darker again. Just kind of beef up this And then maybe, you know, just for fun, what we could do is just take the handle of like a small brush, just take the handle and indicate maybe some specific hairs that are catching the light. Scratch that in. Whatever.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you know, if it works, right? Okay, good. Now I'm just going to start to find all those transition colors in the face, you know, whether it's a little more pink or a little more yellow or a little more orange or whatever, you know. I'm just going to start to lay in these. You know, this color is going to transition from the stark white. Build that out. I want to think about the shape of the head, how that forehead, you know, is round. And I hit the ridge of the eye socket, you know, that comes around from the skull. There's a really nice, you know, turning of light right there because the bone is pressing against the skin right there. Okay. Touch of light under the eyelid, a touch of light over the eyelid, like that. And then as I get to this center ridge of the forehead, there's a little touch of light like right there that kind of sits right over the eyebrow. Like that. Add a little sienna to the mixture, a little alizarin crimson. I'm just methodically just going right across just this area of the forehead. I'm no longer going to take in the head as a whole. When I was blocking everything in, now I'm just methodically working specifically across the head, okay? We talked about working general to specific. This is the specific part, okay? Now this side of the face is in shadow. I'm going to leave it fairly vague because, again, there's no need to overpaint, overdraw this. You know, the information's there. It's just, you know, existing in shape. So I'm not, you know, I don't want to kill that nice glow by, you know, overworking that particular part of the face. So I'm just going to kind of stick to the lit side and just continue to work that. at the bridge of the nose here. You know, there's where light hits that side of the nose, there's a highlight that comes out like that. And then right on the bulb of the nose, that cartilage, that little ball right there, has got light. The nostril, and then this little fold of skin picks up some light. Now, one thing I like, this is just something that is just, you know, my own personal kind of what I find cool, is what, you know, you have this running shadow that goes right through the center of the face, the center ridge of the forehead, down the back side of the nose, down the philtrum of the upper lip, and then around the chin. Well, you can complement that, and that kind of links the whole head together. You can do the same with the highlight color, or the highlight value or tone. You can come in here, and following the shape of the skull, you come down, and you go around, and you emphasize that cheek, and then this comes in, and then slowly kind of merges down here below the upper lip, and fades out into the structure of the jaw. And this wonderful line of light also kind of unifies the head, carries the viewer eye all the way down the portrait. And then just kind of blend that back into the surrounding colors. Main thing is that, you know, you keep in mind the bone structure underneath the head, underneath the skin, right? Just follow what the light's doing in shape. Okay, just kind of blend that out. Put some light on the ear, pull that ear out. Throat. Got a nice flash of light right there on the throat. Mix it together. All right. Gotta soften that a little bit. And I'm just going to switch to a smaller brush just to, you know, get some control on some things. But now, you know, we need to go ahead and put a little bit more variation of color into the portrait. Alizarin crimson and burnt sienna can come together in a variety of ways to give you the nice glowing color that you see like in the ears and across the nose where the blood flow is. You know, your ears, if you backlight, you know, your ears are almost transparent, the way light comes through all that cartilage. So you can see blood flow, you know. That's why, you know, ears and across the sinuses here, it's generally a little more red, more warm, because there's blood flow that's visible. And you can see how there's this really nice glowing alizarin crimson value to inside the ear and across the nose and etc. So I'm just going to get in here real quick and very specifically, it's a little too light. Start to kind of put in these nice colors inside the ear that give it Overwhelmed. Right, and I'm just gonna, just blend some of these colors together.
Are you gonna wait a little while, like wait until it dries a little bit more before you do your glasses?
No, I'll put those on now, you want to.
I was just wondering, I'm not meaning to rush you. I'm not trying
No,
to.
no, no. No,
Just wanting to know, because I'm a person with glasses.
Uh-huh. I'm just gonna, add these little highlights to the ear to kind of get that shiny cartilage feel to the ear. Just kind of add some of that to the image. And just, just a few little, little touches of light, but those are going to kind of just add a little bit of extra, to the whole thing. Just little areas that I know. Nothing crazy, just some subtle. All right, okay? Yeah? All right. So let me I'll go ahead and just add the glasses now, because I wanted to make sure I got the eyes at least, decent enough to where the glasses can go over the top and it looks like nothing was left too unfinished. One thing I might do real quick is to kind of clean this eye up a little bit back here. It's a little off. Attention. Throw a little light. Oops, not that much.
This is so
Not
annoying.
that. All right. And and this can be taken as tight, as I would want to take it. I mean, I could sit here and blend and keep tightening the brush strokes, but that's not what I'm after. I like this loose, expressionistic kind of style. So to just do the glasses, I mean, I'm kind of back to drawing again to get them to lay out. I want to mix up a nice dark. I don't want to use black. So alizarin crimson, phthalo blue, burnt sienna, all kind of coming together to make a nice dark. Now the only thing about these glasses that are really hard-edged is the black plastic part of the earpieces and the bridge. The lenses are floating. So if y'all think back to when you drew glass in drawing one, light reflects. You don't see all of the edges equally. Sometimes you just see little glints of highlight and shadow. So the lenses themselves kind of break apart over the face. And you only see them because the light is refracting through the lenses back onto the face. So I'm just going to draw the bridge that goes across the nose like that. And then it just kind of disappears into the side of the lens, and then just in a very faint line, the top of the glasses cut right across the eye and stop when they reach the outer corner of the eye there. And then over here, the same thing. It comes out, it extends through the eye, and then comes off the side of the head a little bit, like right about there. And then this earpiece cuts back and disappears behind the hair. And then this picks up right about here. And I just carry that on over to disappear right in line with the ear. It's got to make it to the ear, or it doesn't feel like it's sitting on the face. So you got to make sure you keep that accurate. Just send that right on back like that. Maybe put a few little hairs back over the top of it like that. Now for the lenses, I don't want to draw, like I said, I'm not going to draw this hard line because they're floating lenses. I want to just pay attention to what the light's doing. So I'm just going to mix up the colors that I see, which are, flesh tone colors. Kind of a bright highlight. And like right here in the corner, you can see a nice little curve of light that shows the outer edge of the lens. That's, and that's all you get. You just get this little sweep of light like that. That's all there is. And you can kind of blend that and carry it out like that. Okay?
I don't understand. How?
Magic.
Do sorcery.
Over here to the outside. Over here to the outside, you can see where maybe there's a little faint reflecting out there like that. It kind of lets you know that there's a lens over there. And then this side of the lens, there's a little bit of shadow right along there that indicates the other side of the, where the glasses kind of stop. So they kind of come in over here and create a value right inside like that. And this all kind of just meets the shadows already painted inside. Okay? This is probably, this is all probably a little too intense, a little too bright. You can kick all that back a little bit. But there you go, guys. Okay? Just break it down. Make your strokes count for something. Okay? Have fun with it. Any questions?